What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Lexi. Thank you for joining me in today's exciting video. I will put my Instagram up above if we are not already connected there. But without further ado, today's video is exciting because at the very end, I'm going to be announcing what you have to do to enter my giveaway. So I appreciate you guys so much who have followed me on here from the start. And if you're a new follower or a new subscriber, I appreciate you as well. But I wanted to give back and give you guys a giveaway and an opportunity to win one of my current favorite things. So stay tuned for that at the end of this video. But without further ado, in today's video, I'm going to touch on my top 5 tips for competitors. Now, these are not just tips for first-time competitors. These are tips that can apply to whatever season you're in, whether you are new to competing or you are a seasoned competitor. I think all of these tips are going to be very helpful. And I've been competing for several years now. I've been coaching for several years, and I took the past couple days and I narrowed it down to what I personally think are my top 5 tips for competitors. A lot of these are things that I sure as hell wish I would have known before getting into competing, and I wish somebody would have prepared me by telling me these things. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts after listening to this video. If you agree, if you disagree, if you have anything you want to add, I'd love to hear that in the comments below. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about them in no particular order. I'm going to go ahead and start by giving you guys my top 5 my top 5, in my opinion, my top 5 tips for competitors. So, all right, so my tip number 1, and I promise I'm not trying to sound biased saying this because I know I am a coach, so it could come across that way, but my tip number 1 for top 5 tips for competitors is going to be hire a coach early on in your career and in your journey, a coach that understands the sport, a coach that has a good knowledge base of the sport, who follows the sport. Maybe they go to shows a lot, maybe they compete themselves, but I think it is really important if you can hire a coach who really does understand the sport. They can kind of take you under their wing and teach you a lot throughout the process. Not only can they coach you, but they can teach you a lot throughout the process. And I also think it's important to mention that you should hire a coach. So when you're looking for a coach, I always say you should feel extremely comfortable with that coach, especially if you are going to prep under this coach. You need to be very comfortable telling them a lot, right? You need to not be afraid to share little details. You need to not be afraid to, approach the coach if for some reason you fell off your plan or your protocol. Like, you shouldn't feel scared to tell your coach that. So I think it's very vital when you are picking out a coach to choose somebody that you feel very comfortable with, and just somebody who aligns personally with your morals, and just somebody who is a good fit for you. So that is my tip number 1. Hire a coach, somebody who understands the sport, somebody who's knowledgeable in it, and somebody you feel completely comfortable with. Okay, so tip number 2 is actually what I'm really curious to hear some of your guys' thoughts on. And this is one I feel very strongly about. I firmly believe that, and this is my tip, if you are considering competing, before getting into a contest prep, consider how your relationship is with food, but furthermore with your body and with your body image. Now, I am not here to act like I guess what I'm trying to say is I think everybody to some degree is, everybody has bad body image days, right? But what I'm saying is if you get into a contest prep and you already hate the way you look and you are prepping out of spite of how you look and you're wanting to alter your appearance, and if that's solely the one reason you are getting into a prep, I hate to say it, but you are gonna be in for such a rude awakening, because I think that having a strong, solid relationship with your body image before starting a prep is key. Because one thing that I know I didn't know before getting into a prep, nobody ever told me, is that you're gonna get stage lean. And some people like the way they look when they're stage lean, some people don't. Personally, I like the way I look a little bit better when I'm like 5 pounds above my stage weight, but when you get stage lean, you cannot hold on to that look for forever, right? You have to realize you're gonna get stage lean and you are not going to be able to maintain that, right? It is a very temporary look. So that's where I think it really does come in handy if you get into a contest prep already having a good relationship with your body, and if you already know and you're prepared to see your body go through different seasons and different changes. I think that is key, because otherwise, if you don't, like I said, you are going to be in for a bit of a rude awakening, and it could potentially be very hard for you to see your body go from, looking a certain way to another way. So that is one thing that I feel like I wish I would have known before getting into bodybuilding, so I could have better prepared myself, just to know that, okay, bodybuilding, like part of, I think, the biggest or the hardest things, one of the hardest things for me since I started the journey of bodybuilding, and I think I've gotten better with it over time. I think everybody does the more that they do it, but is getting used to seeing yourself getting super stage lean and then realizing, okay, I can't stay this way, and then having to gain back that, necessary healthy weight. So tip number 2 is just going to be have a good, solid relationship with yourself and with your body before starting a prep. Again, that's not to say that you don't have bad body image days. I think we all have those, I'd be lying if I said I don't have them. But if your sole reason for prepping is out of spite for the way you already look, that may not be a strong enough why to carry you through the prep long term. And also just consider you're gonna get stage lean, and you have to be okay with seeing yourself get stage lean and then gain that healthy weight back. So that is tip number 2. All right, moving right along to tip number 3, and this is definitely one I can confidently say I so wish somebody would have ingrained this in me when I first started competing, and that is to practice your posing early. Practice your posing early. Don't just tell yourself, oh, I'm gonna practice my posing a ton 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. Guys, posing is so important, and I feel like you hear that a lot, but it is seriously so true. Your physique is only as good on stage as the way you pose it, right? So if you have the best physique on stage but you don't know how to pose it, you don't know how to showcase it, then your physique really doesn't matter at that point, right? So you have to know how to pose your physique well. Posing is something like, don't try to cut costs by not practicing your posing or maybe not hiring a posing coach. Posing is so vital, you guys. And I have all of my competitors who come to me and they express to me that their long-term goal is to compete. I have all of them practicing their posing well before they start a prep, and then that way when they start prep, they're already familiar with posing, and it's not like they're having to learn something from the ground up. And honestly, if you have that it factor in your posing and your presentation is like jaw-dropping, and you are a true novice competitor or you are a first-time competitor, that can make such a big difference. I think we've all been to shows before where you see that one girl, maybe 2 girls out of the whole show, who just captivate you from the moment they step out on stage. So if you can really work towards having that, you are going to set yourself up for a lot of success on stage. So I cannot emphasize enough, practice your posing, hire a posing coach, and even once you've competed once and you're a seasoned competitor, continue to practice your posing, continue to evolve your posing to showcase and emphasize your strengths and to tailor and, hide your weaknesses. So that is tip number 3. All right, tip number 4, and I feel like this is one that nobody loves to hear, but I think we can all agree it is very important, and that is going to be take your time. Don't try and rush the process. I don't feel like anything good ever happens when a competitor tries to rush the process or tries to speed up the phase that they're in, right? Whether it's trying to prep too soon or trying to, cut your building season short and speed up your building season just so you can prep again. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is time is always on your side as a bodybuilder. Now I totally get, like, there are certain scenarios, and I know I have certain clients that I've dealt with in particular that are on a little bit of a timeline, maybe they want to start a family. And so that's a little bit of a different kind of boat to be in, right? But especially if you are young and you are getting into this sport at a young age, don't try and rush the process. Like, spend as much time building and growing as you can, because it will pay off. There is literally nothing bad that can come from building and growing. And honestly, I would say the most impressive physiques on stage are a lot of times are the ones that have spent ample time growing beforehand. So time is always on your side. Don't rush the process. And I'll leave you guys with this for this 4th tip. If you are working with a coach and they explicitly advise you to take a longer time growing before starting prep, listen to them. I think what people don't realize, and I realize this because I am a coach, if a coach tells you that, like, they have gotten absolutely nothing to gain, right? If a coach tells a client that they are not ready to prep, they risk potentially losing a paying client, right? So if a coach tells you that, like, just take their word, believe them, and just lean into a little bit of that delayed gratification, because not rushing the process and taking your time will absolutely pay off. All right, and last but not least, tip number 5, and this is what I really want to ingrain in your guys' brain, especially to my newer competitors out there, but honestly, quite frankly, I think we can all stand from having this reminder, and that is, don't compare yourself to those physiques you see on social media, because I have seen it time and time again where you see somebody on social media who may appear to look amazing, and then you start to get in your head, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'd be able to win against them. But then what happens is they get on stage and they look nowhere near the way they looked on their social media. And also, I think it's important, especially if we're talking the division of bikini, I always say the coolest physique off stage, it does not always equate to the one that is rewarded on stage, especially when we're talking bikini, right? The bikini division is all about fitting a certain standard, and that is not always going to mean that the quote unquote coolest person, the coolest looking person off stage is going to be the one that wins in the bikini division on stage, right? That's a mistake I made early on in my career where, I train at a gym where a lot of competitors train, and I would see other girls training and think like, oh my goodness, look at her shoulders, look at her glutes, look at her muscle. And I failed to realize that the physique off stage, honestly, it's irrelevant. All that matters is what you look like on stage, how you pose, how you present yourself, how you fit the criteria, etc. So that is tip number 5. Don't fall down the comparison rabbit, or don't fall down the comparison rabbit hole. Literally nothing good will come from it. And if anything, it's just going to create more negative self-talk internally, and that doesn't do anybody good. And like I said, the coolest physique off stage is not always going to be the one that's rewarded on stage. You'd be very surprised. So that wraps up my personal top 5 tips for competitors. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, if you agree with these, if you disagree, if you have any other pieces of advice to add on, comment below. And without further ado, as promised at the beginning of this video, I am going to announce how you can enter my giveaway. So without further ado, how you can enter my giveaway. Well, first off, let's start off with what am I giving away? So I am giving away to one of you lucky viewers, I'm giving away an Angel Competition Bikinis posing suit. So this is the new velvet. Yes, velvet cheetah. Actually, this was my idea, so I came up with this print. We executed and it turned out perfectly. So I'm giving away this suit specifically to one of you guys out there. I'm gonna put an overlay so you guys can see it a little bit closer up, but I love posing suits for 2 reasons. One, they're super fun to put on when you're checking in, and they mimic the exact coverage that a stage suit has. So they're very helpful for that purpose. And the cool thing is, it is summertime and these can actually double as an actual bathing suit. So especially if you're a competitor who's competing in the summer, it really helps to wear something outside that mimics the coverage of your stage suit. That way, if you get a tan line, it doesn't really affect you when you are on stage in your actual stage suit. So I'm giving one of you guys a suit just like this. So all you gotta do to enter, and I'll put this below as well, is follow me on Instagram, follow Angel Competition Bikinis on Instagram, and I want you to just drop a comment below and tell me give me a tip that you would give a competitor. So write that below and fill out the form that I'm going to link in the description box. So that's it. So follow me, AC Bikinis, drop a tip for a competitor below, or if you're not a competitor, just drop a comment below. As long as you just comment something below, that will enter you, and then you have to fill out the link though that I am linking, and I will have that as the first line, the first thing in the description box below. So I'm going to run this giveaway all the way through the month of July, so the winner will be announced on August 1st. And as always, if you choose to purchase anything from Angel Competition Bikinis, you can use my discount code. I'll put it below for 15% off. Always happy to answer any questions if you have them about any of their products. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that wherever you guys are at in the world, you have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in my next video.